Burmese opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi has begun a landmark visit to the United States, using her first speech to call for the removal of economic sanctions and more help to build democracy in her homeland. But the Nobel laureate has faced criticism for failing to speak up for Burma's oppressed minority, the Muslim Rohingyas. The Burmese government doesn't even recognise them as citizens. In Burma's west, a humanitarian crisis is unfolding after an outbreak of communal violence between the Rohingyas and the Buddhist Rakhine people. Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniel was granted rare access to the Rakhine state to file this report.
Once a thriving community, this is now a place of misery, left to the mercy of the monsoon. Debris from recent communal violence remains scattered around these homes and shops, formerly inhabited by Muslims. KYAW, a member of the Rakhine community, wants to show us his old home, so police escort us in. They're still frightened. They blame the Muslims for starting the conflict and they fear it'll happen again.
We took nothing from our house except my wife, children and a dog.
The people who lived here didn't salvage anything either. Thousands of homes were burnt to the ground in this mostly Muslim township. This wasteland is now off limits to all who lived here before. It's hard to believe that we're effectively standing on the remains of the homes of about 10,000 people here, and while they're gone, the scraps of their lives still remain when you look for them. Pieces of tile, a tube of toothpaste, a baby's shoe, all left as these people fled their homes. KYAW and his family are among more than 5,500 Buddhist Rakhine people now homeless and living in monasteries, reliant on food aid and the goodwill of the monks. They're furious at the Rohingya Muslims who claim links to the area for generations. The majority Rakhine even object to the term Rohingya because they say it represents a made-up claim to Burmese ethnicity. They call them Bengalis, claiming they're invaders from neighbouring Bangladesh.
They came into the country illegally with plans to take over the Rakhine state. We do not dare to live together with them again because they are all very rough. They are butchers.
High hopes for a newly progressive Burma were shaken in June when the communal violence broke out. It was apparently triggered by the rape and murder of an ethnic Rakhine woman by 3 Muslim men. 10 Muslim leaders were then killed by an angry mob and the violence spilt over. Dozens were killed on both sides. It's claimed the army failed to intervene or even targeted Muslims, something authorities deny.
To say security forces protected the Rakhines and not the Muslims is wrong. The forces providing protection had come from Yangon. Those security forces were not Rakhines.
The state capital, Sittwe, is now protected by soldiers. The ethnic Rakhine are living in the town, while the Rohingya are being kept in camps outside military checkpoints. They're prevented from coming inside, the government says, for their own protection. Cut off, they have no access to income or supplies other than those donated. More than 3,000 people live in this camp, which is one of many. Almost 70,000 Muslims have been displaced. Camp leader ABDUR says if people try to leave, they're stopped by the riot police or the army.
We are being made to stay separated. They wanted to separate us in their mind, and that's why we are here.
He denies that Muslims burnt Rakhine houses and led attacks on Rakhine people. Both sides blame the other.
They were the ones who came to burn, and we could not even get close to our houses to stop the fire.
There's predictable sickness here and claims that 30 people have already died in this camp after falling ill with diarrhoea. There are fears of a humanitarian disaster in the form of a cholera outbreak. LAYLAY KHINE's 18-month-old daughter is unwell, and she's heartsick too, for other reasons. She tells us her 2 sons, a baby and a 3-year-old, were killed in the unrest.
The children were sleeping and didn't wake up when the fire started. Then people came with guns. We didn't know what to do. I tried to grab my children to flee, and 2 were left behind. That's how my children died.
Help has been hard to deliver here. Aid agencies and Western media have been accused of favouring the Rohingya, and some had to stop work due to threats to the safety of aid workers. They're operating again, but in a limited way across Rakhine State.
This is the first time we've actually ever suspended our operations for security reasons. So that's caused a lot of problems of our long-term project. But we've still been able to provide significant humanitarian support to those, particularly those families in and around the towns that have been displaced by the fighting. But I think my main concern at the moment is resuming our normal programs.
There's speculation that the government plans to keep Muslims in these camps for 2 to 3 years. And while local authorities admit that's unsustainable, reuniting the community now may be disastrous.
Returning is their right, but if their return would cause problems for the Rakhine community, we don't want this to happen. For that reason, we have to detain them for the time being.
The Rohingya's desire for Burmese citizenship seems a long way off. And even if authorities allowed it, the Rakhine community may not. In the way is fear and distrust and scars that may never go away.
Zoe Daniel reporting from Burma.